Welcome back to the Dragon's Tongue, where Hollywood is drowning in an ocean of blood because one YouTuber released a movie. Okay, so Iron Lung. I don't even know what else to say. I already technically recorded this video, which seems why seems a bit out of it, but holy crap. Um there's a lot to talk about with this movie, honestly, which is why there's a lot of people who are releasing videos about it, people that are, but mixed, a lot of people that are very happy because it's like, sticking the boot to the man. Yeah, that's right. Which is a good, is kind of funny, but, overall, like, what is it? What is Iron Lung? What is the, so first off, I just want to say I do congratulate Markiplier for his movie, his first movie he's ever released. The guy's got talent in terms of continuously innovating, right? He's an innovator. He can't sit still when it comes to pushing and continuing to push his limit, his skills. And we know that he has some bits of like cinematography skill, before he did, all the skits he does on YouTube, are very actually well performed. And even in some gaming videos where he does go full money on the whole acting thing, people are like, oh, he's a pretty good actor, actually. It's not every day you can convince an audience a live audience that you're going to steal your friend's kneecaps because you made a bet and that bet lost, and you got to steal your friend's kneecaps. What can I say? I'm making a Fall Guys joke, by the way. But this movie, it was a long time coming. It was a long time coming because I've been hearing about this movie being made for a long time. I've been watching Markiplier since I was like 9, and he's one of the few YouTubers that honestly I have continued to watch throughout my age. Unlike a lot of YouTubers that kind of fell off for me, just because his stuff is entertaining, it's funny, and I I just continue to watch his stuff, and again, also because he is an innovator. It's not just a normal, it's continuously pushing the limits of what you can and can't do, artistically. And I appreciate that. So I just want to congratulate Markiplier on it, first of all. Congratulations. This is I released a book last year. I've talked about it before. It's right behind those candles right there. And that's something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to release a book. I want to be a writer is what I'm doing. I'm knee deep in my second book. So I understand like so long, and in Red Haven, my book that I released wasn't even the first book I tried to write. I tried to write several books and it just didn't go anywhere, or I wasn't talented enough. I needed to grow more. I needed to actually hone my skills, my writing skills. And then I came out with this, and it was a smash hit with everyone who has read it. But my problem is I don't have good marketing, so it's not out there. I'm not getting money for it practically at all. But everyone that that has read it, including families and strangers alike, have liked it. So that's good. And to have something that is you're passionate about. Obviously, I didn't spend 3 or 4 years making this like Markiplier did Iron Lung, but I'm just trying to say this to say I understand waiting and then midway through realizing this isn't worth it, and because I've had so many of that with my previous drafts of books where I realize this is not good. This is not good writing. This is not I'm fucking around in the dark right now. And then I give up, and then in Red Haven was the first one where I had a good plot, I had good characters, I had solid stuff and cooking up, and I actually wrote, I read a lot so I could try and grasp writing a little bit better. And it just ended up being a success for me because anyone who read it did like it, as far as I know. So that was a success for me. I didn't make a lot of money off of it, but it doesn't really matter at that point, because you're just happy to get it out, and the people who did consume your media did like it, and that's really all. I got amazing reviews from everybody who has read the book. They've said it's really good. So I understand that, and I'm so happy for him. Like, every time he was releasing, the last couple videos that he released personally were updates on the movie, and to see him just so excited is just, it's a beautiful thing. It really is, to see someone who is passionate about what they do and put so much love into something. So, I just want to say that real quick to congratulate, because it is a big deal. Iron Lung as a film is a big deal. I don't know how much money it's made right now, but the last video that Mark released, at that time, at that juncture, I didn't know how much it made, but like last time I had checked, it made $18 million on a $3 million budget. And I'm sure it's gone up since then, because that was like a week ago. And it got a second release. This was the last weekend, I think it might have been showing. But great stuff. And it's coming to DVD. It's coming to home release. Fucking yes! Yes! Because I need this for my collection. I need a physical copy, because it is, I need that in my life. I need it. But anyway, yeah, so you can watch it. You don't need to go to the theaters to watch it. You can just buy it and watch it. I'm sure it'll be up on streaming or something too. People will put it up, but it's just, congratulations. It's awesome. And I'm glad to be that it's kind of given Hollywood a bit of the boot. It's kind of given it the old beating around the coal shed, right? Because it's time. It's time that they did get a little bit of a reality check. And I'm not one to completely go off and be, hey, the little guy. I'm no slave to the little man, all right? I'm no slave to being like, oh, the underdog is always should be the one on top. Because Shelby Oaks was another YouTuber movie that I watched last year, and I will say it was shit. I don't know personally the YouTuber who made it. I don't watch their stuff. I just know it was made by a YouTuber. And I didn't even know that going in. I had no knowledge about the Shelby Oaks movie. Me and my mom and my brother, we love horror movies. So we saw an opportunity to see a good horror movie. We ran with it. And I mean, it was just shit. I'm just going to be completely 100% honest with you. It wasn't like unwatchable, but it was just dragged on, repetitive. I mean, the jump scares were predictable. Like, so much of it was just, I don't know what to say. It was shit. And I don't mind saying that. Even if it's like, oh, it's an indie production, it's a YouTuber movie. I don't give a shit. If it's not good, it's not good. I'm going to call it out. So, with that in mind, that's a good segue, because now let's get to actually the movie and how good is the actual movie. As a fan of Markiplier since I was a kid, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, because I want to give this movie 10 out of 10 fucking reviews, and unfortunately I can't do that. I have to try and remain somewhat biased, if anything, for Markiplier's sake, right? Because if you don't get actual authentic criticism of your movie or any media that you consume, well, it's not helpful, right? It's not helpful to the creator. I always ask my mom, who reviews my books, I always ask, like, is there something wrong? Tell me straight to my face, is there something wrong with the book so far? Because she reviews my stuff, and you could say she's my mom, she has a bias, but she's also a major reader. She's read thousands of books, she has her own library, so I kind of trust her when it comes to reading, in terms of the flow of the book, the story, the characters, how the conversations are written, because dialogue in books can be really tricky. I learned that young as a writer, is that dialogue can be fucking tricky sometimes. You have to do it right, or it just feels unnatural and off. Like, so in my first couple drafts of books, my mom totally told me about those things. And even with this one, I did have a couple parts where she was like, you need to redo this or redo that. Criticism is helpful. It's not your enemy. It is your friend, So the movie, It was okay. It was good. I would say it's good. Is it a masterpiece? I have a hard time saying it's a masterpiece, honestly. It is not. It is not. Come and see masterpiece status, right? Come and see, to me, is one of my favorite movies of all time. That movie is a masterpiece. It is a dark, horrific masterpiece, but it's a masterpiece nonetheless. That's a masterpiece movie. Um, is Iron Lung a masterpiece? I wouldn't say so. Is it even a super great movie? Like super great in my top 10 or my top 5 movies? No, but it's good. It's really good. So like biggest pro to me in this movie was the filmography in it. So I've been hearing Markiplier talk about the production of the film because I listen to a podcast that he does with his two other friends, Bob and Wade, and occasionally you got little snippets of him working on the film, and his passion for filmography really comes through. Cinematography, all that stuff. And you can tell, because the way it was shot is just beautiful. I don't know anyone else to say it. You can seriously look at any part of this film, like take a screenshot of any part of this film at any time, and it's going to be like poster-worthy picture. Like, not just in quality, but also in framing, in like just detail. It's amazing. So that was something that was really good because I feel like cinematography has just really fallen off in media lately, where people just aren't creative with cinematography anymore. They don't get and it's hard to do cinematography and not feel pretentious too, and I understand that, it's like, we gotta make these super long shots. It's like, I love long shots. I adore long shots. M. Night Shyamalan is a big one. When I was a kid growing up, I loved his films because he was one of the only, at least the first directors that I ever watched that had these really long shots. And I was like, it's just so impactful. One of my favorites is in Unbreakable, where you're sitting there and the doctor is talking to Bruce Willis, and they're in the background of the film, and in front of you is a corpse. Or is a body, and as they're talking, the shot goes on so long that the blood starts to pool in the body, and as the blood is pooling in the body, the doctor is telling Bruce Willis, you and one other survivor are the only survivors of this train crash, and you're about to be the only one, insinuating that the guy in the next room is dying, and you can tell that in real time with it spreading across. It's a beautiful shot. Like, it just, filmography, you can do so much with filmography. Like, symbolism, all these kinds of things, and I feel like it's fallen off in the last couple years, and this movie is really good at it. The first shot of it I loved, where it's you get the dialogue about kind of what happened, the quiet rapture and everything, and then it opens up and you're like, what am I looking at? And then you realize you're looking at the drop ship, I'm gonna say, dropping the submarine into the ocean, because you see the big ass chain going to it, and it just, oh, it was so fucking cool. I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't even know what I was looking at. And then you get what you're looking at and you're like, oh my god. Every shot could be poster worthy shit. And that's not a thing that a lot of people can say about their movie. So, filmography was good. The spirit of this movie was really good. It is a based on a video game, so I can't really give Markiplier credit for storytelling in the way that it was, based off of something else, but it is his own story line with his own characters, so I kind of, but it's good. It's the budget. I adore movies that can. And this is another filmography trick, right? I adore movies that take place in a very refined, area. And this is one of the best movies I've ever seen that has done this, honestly, where it's one character, one room. That's all that there is to the movie, really. And it's great. I really did like the I like I understand 100% why Mark played the video game and thought this would make a great film, because it really is the epitome of, like, I don't know, like existential dread almost, where it's like you're trapped in this thing and you're going to die, and we know you're going to die. You know you're going to die, and you're trapped there. You never get out of the submarine, which I think is awesome because, except for the first shot, like I said, dropping it into the blood ocean, there's never a shot that's outside the submarine, which is just awesome because it really like lends credibility to the fact that you, the audience, are also stuck in here with him, which is just, again, amazing cinematography wise. And it's just, the spirit was there too. I could just tell that the people who worked on this movie really did work on it, and they did love this movie. They were like, no, this movie, we're putting 110% on this movie. And you can just tell. You can just tell when movies are made like that, right? Where the actors are giving their 110%, the voice actors are giving their 110%. Like I said, there's only really one character, which is Markiplier's character, Simon. But there's also the captain lady, and then, as apparently Jacksepticeye's in it too, which I was thinking was really funny because I was like, wouldn't it be funny if he made a cameo? And apparently he did, because he was one of the guys working on the ship that Simon blasted with radiation accidentally. I don't know if that's even true, by the way. I have not done my research on that, but I've heard that it is. So it's kind of interesting. But, like, other than that, other than a couple characters, there's the creature, the actual monster haunting the blood moon layer. And then, there's they come over on the radio, and there's a couple different people, but there's the characters, the setting, the set itself, which is, again, only the sub, is just awesome. I can't go on enough about the cinematography, because when I think about this movie, I think about how many different amazing shots that were put into this film to make it seem like it's not one place. Like, it's almost like the headspace of the character reflects the cinematography, right? When he's in one area, the camera changes to whatever that area is. When he's in a different area, the cinematography changes. It becomes, very mind melding almost, where you're very much in the mind of this guy that's down here, and how he reflects, the space that he's in is not big at all, and yet it feels so vast and hopeless. Like, it's just really good. The cinematography is just phenomenal. I mean, it's just so many shots. I was like, that's a beautiful shot. That's a beautiful shot. That's a beautiful shot every time. So that's really good. The acting was actually pretty good. There's always the funny moment where you when you first see Markiplier on the film, and you're like, that's kind of funny. You want to laugh because it's like Markiplier playing a serious role. You just expect him to kind of, burst out laughing and do his shtick, his Markiplier shtick as a YouTuber, and he's not doing it this time. And you slowly warm up to that, but it is funny. Like I said, I've been watching this guy since I was a fucking kid. So to see him on my big screen theater, playing a serious role, yet it's his face, the guy that I've known for years as it to be a goofball and who makes me laugh all the time, to play this serious, like just serious role. This is a serious role. This is a serious character. And you get used to it, like I said, but it is kind of funny, and you do have the kind of a bit of a heart attack where it's like, is this going to be good because this is a YouTuber acting? And I thought it was okay. There were times where I was like, I felt like it's underacting almost, where it seemed like you could have put more emotion into that shot, but at the same time, there is a certain beauty to underacting where it feels a little bit more real almost. And that's kind of what the vibe I got from this film was like. There's definitely people that underact. In the Shelby Oaks movie, I thought the main character was boring as hell. I can't even picture her face because she was such a boring character. I couldn't see any actual human life behind those eyes. That's terrible underacting. But Markiplier's acting in this film was kind of interesting because, again, it was just so unanimated almost that you could, and it worked with the film. I guess that's the big difference, is that the Shelby Oaks film is a normal gal trying to figure out what happened to her sister. This film is about a character in this world where everything is pretty much dead or dying, and he's a convict that's sent down here basically to die, to collect some evidence, you know. And so you can kind of almost feel, there's a feel to it that's like this character knows he's dead, you know. It's very interesting, and I feel like that worked with how Markiplier acted in it. Because I will say that he did not have a wide range of acting, but I put this in my pros because I feel like it kind of helped the vibe of the movie. Because for the first couple minutes, I was like, "That's your best take for that line read." But then I was thinking, like, actually, it kind of works because it makes you feel like this character is actually just like depressed, I guess is the word, you know, because it's like, I'm in this situation, you know, this is me in this situation. So I feel like it was kind of, although it was underacting, I would say it worked for this film. I'm going to say that it worked for this film. Underacting can be good in some certain situations because you don't need the whole "oh my god" or "oh Jesus" or "oh my god, that's crazy." Like, you don't need a wide variety of filming and like roles if your entire character is stuck in a submarine and just already in a state of static, I would say, is kind of the feeling, the vibe that I got, because it's the breath before the fall, right? Where it's like every moment you're anticipating death, you begin to not anticipate it anymore, where it's like, I'm just accepting this, you know. It's the 5 stages of grief almost, right? Acceptance is the last stage, and it feels like this character was there for most of the whole movie until the last part where he decided, like, no, I'm not gonna die here, you know. And then a whole bunch of shit happens. But that's what I felt like, was like the character is just at acceptance for most of the film, and that actually helped the film because it did feel real. It didn't feel like a person that was an actor that was dropped into this world being like, oh, say these cool things about this cool ship, look around and be all crazy. Like, no, it was a character that very much felt like they lived in the actual world. That this world that we have now after the Quiet Rapture is depressing. Okay, people are dead, people are dying, resources are going out the ass. Like, everything is a what is that Steve Jobs movie? Everything is a pressing issue, right? That kind of thing. So intensity almost is kind of the way I describe it, but it's almost like just anticipating death kind of feeling. Okay, now the cons. I will say there are some cons to this movie. I'm going to be completely honest. Again, the story is okay, it's good, but I can't really give that all to the movie because, again, it was based on a video game, and the video game premise is very simple. It's not like, you know, a movie or a video game where it's like, oh yeah, we can make our completely new vision of this. It is literally just the game where it's a convict going down, researching stuff, and is stuff that happens. And honestly, the story is the part where I do kind of fall off a little bit too, which is why I didn't really bring it up too much on my pros. So, the cons. This movie did not need to be 2 hours long. I will say that. When I saw the runtime, I was like, That's excessive, because especially considering I, for one, knew that this movie was not going to be anything more than one guy in a room, right? It's like, how long, like I said, I appreciate the fact that he made an entire movie in one room. I went on and on about how awesome that is, but the part that gets to me is that this movie was repetitive at times, to the point where you could have cut that and been so for example, my biggest pet peeve in this film is the skeleton plot, where it's like you go down and you get the skeleton. So for those who haven't seen it, this is a bit of a spoiler, but the first time Mark goes down, Mark, I have a hard time not calling him Mark, okay? But Simon goes down, they send him down there, he takes a couple pictures, he finds a skeleton, and is like, oh, I found a skeleton, and they're like, oh, you found a skeleton? Let's bring you back up. They bring him all the way back up to the surface, and then we get a little bit of exposition, like, well, you need to go back down there and get us more of that skeleton. We need the skeleton, whatever we need of the skeleton. And then he's like, well, I thought it was one trip up, like one trip down. You promised me one trip down, and then once I came back up, I was free. And she's like, no, we actually need more than just a picture of it, so you're gonna need to go back down there again. Next time, we'll give you your freedom. And he's like, okay. And then they go back down again, and then Simon's submarine gets pulled into a cave by something. That plot didn't need to be in there. That plot really didn't need to be in there. And the more I think about it, the worse it gets, because, god damn it, if we didn't go through the same thing. So after he gets pulled into the cave, he's trying to find his way out of the cave, and he comes across another submarine. And he's like, oh, this is another submarine. Data starts downloading on his ship, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I need to get out of here. Once he gets to a part where he can reach the transmission again, because he couldn't get the transmission back he couldn't get the radio working, because it was just, disturbances in the cave. Obviously, it's a cave. Once he gets almost out of the cave, the captain lady's like, you need to go back and get that data. If you get that data, then we can let you go. And he's like, I thought I could already get let go. And it's like, no, we can't waste the manpower to go down there and get you. But if you get us this data, it might be worth it. So he has to travel all the way back, get the data, go all the way back again, and then he's going to get his freedom. So repetitive is the word I'm on. Repetitive. So all you had to do in this film was make the data the first thing. Because there's so much here. The skeleton plot just drives me up the wall, because you didn't need to do this. You could have just made the data the very first thing. He could have found pictures of the sub and been like, that's weird that they said I was the first one down here. And then when he says he has pictures of the sub, they could be like, well, we need you to retrieve that data, and the submarine could be gone. And they're like, well, you gotta go look for it. Because in the game, you have to go quite a bit of ways to find all these different things anyway, so might as well make it a fetch quest in that way. Be like, oh, well, the submarine's gone from where I last saw it. And they're like, well, you need to find it then. We need that data, or you're not coming back up. That's all it needed to be. We didn't need find a fucking skeleton, whatever that means, and then bring it back up. Because here's the thing. The skeleton, we never ever get to know why the skeleton was needed. What was so important about a skeleton? That's my question. Now, if this could have worked if the skeleton was something that they used constantly, like the bone marrow makes some sort of healing balm, and they need that, so that could have been a routine expedition, right? Go down there, find us some skeletons, and if you find some skeleton marrow, bring it back up bring it back. And then he could find, the skeleton or something like that, and they'll be like, okay, send you back down. But, like, the whole coming back up just to come back down again plot really just kind of killed it for me. I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to create, the idea of what this world was like, right? He goes back up into the ship, and they're cleaning the sub off and doing all this stuff, talking about it. We get the part where he accidentally flashes the crew with radiation, which is a guilt that he holds over his head for the whole movie. He's like, I didn't mean to do that. He's already a convict. He's on hot water already, and then he just blasted a bunch of people with radiation, which, again, I love the radiation plotline. It's awesome. But it's just repetitive to the point where I'm like, why did this need to be in here? Because you could have just, again, led with the data being the thing, the fetch quest, because you could have taken a picture of the submarine and been like, hey, there's a submarine, and they're like, bring you back up, and they're like, okay, go back down, get the submarine's gone, he has to go find it, goes in a cave, the whole rest of the story can happen. It didn't have to be, why did we need the skeleton? Because, again, I feel like I just watched the same damn plot point twice, right? When I explained that, when I gave the synopsis of that scene, did you notice anything in particular? It couldn't have been that was the same damn plot point we just went through. Simon goes back down, finds something. Then he's like, oh yeah, I found something. She's like, okay, well, you don't get your freedom until you go back and get that thing. And then he goes back down to get that thing, and chaos ensues. It's literally the same thing twice in the damn movie. He goes back down, finds a skeleton. He's like, I found a skeleton. They're like, okay, well, you need to bring us the skeleton shit or you're not getting your freedom. He's like, okay, goes back down, goes and gets stuck in a cave, goes back out. He says, hey, I found a submarine. They're like, okay, well, you're not getting your freedom until you get the shit from the submarine. So he has to go back to the submarine, get the shit. Like, it just didn't need to be that way, in a movie where, so much of it is, like, visual, watching how the submarine navigates and everything. That's a big part of the game that was really interesting. You actually had to do math almost, where it's like, you have to figure out where you're going. But it's just, it was repetitive, to the point where it did annoy me a little bit. Because you just didn't need that. You didn't need that. You could have found a different way to... And I understand skeletons are a big thing in the game that you do take pictures of for research and find. But that's the point where I'm saying you could have made it work with it being like, the skeletons? We need the skeletons because the marrow inside of them makes a healing bomb. The marrow inside of them can be constructed into food and we can feed our people. Give me a reason to care about the skeleton at all. Instead of just being like, we need that skeleton, so you're not getting your freedom. And then you go back down, send him back down again. He finds another fucking thing, and you're like, oh, we need that, so you're not getting your freedom unless we get that. So sucks to be you. Like, it's just, I really didn't like the skeleton plot point. And you could argue that that's the whole point, is that it's an endless loop, endless cycle of hopelessness where they continue to dangle his freedom over him, to get him to do stuff. But at the end of the movie, he gives in and does what they ask him to do, which is get the data stuff unplugged and on a floaty thing, and that's how the movie ends, with the floaty thing. And he basically gives in to their commands, which is not something that, honestly, I would have done. Like, if you're trying to get the audience to see that this character is suffering because of not only his situation, but also the upper people who are clearly playing with his life to get what they need, why would you have at the end the character give into that and be like, okay, I guess I'll just lay down and take it? Because that's basically kind of what happens, is that, I would say fuck you, and I understand that in this world there's very likely he was like running low on oxygen. There's no way that he could survive out there on his own. I understand that, but you can't keep doing this where it's like, oh no, next time we'll get you your freedom, next time. Like, how long are you gonna keep letting them kick you while you're down? Especially in that kind of situation, he felt like a pushover at the end there, because he was like, okay, I finally will do this because I'll help humanity instead of saving myself, even though humanity has been treating you like shit the entire damn movie. I don't know. It just seemed to me, the repetitiveness of, one, go back down, find item, we're not taking you back up until you get item, so get said item, risk your life to get said item, and the whole, we'll give you your freedom thing every single time, and talking about how freedom and everything like that. And again, I understand that's the theme of the film, being stuck down there, being in this hopeless situation where you're a convict, the only way to get your freedom is to do this thing. But it would have been so much better if there was just one thing, if there was just one fetch quest thing instead of two, where it's like, my question was like, what's the skeleton used for then? Why was the skeleton so damn, if this lady the captain lady who says she's all about saving humanity, she's like, no, I care about humans, it's too dangerous, to waste human lives like this, and yet she sends him down there for a skeleton. The data is vague data too. So the skeleton in the data also, the big problem I had with it, none of those had any actual impact on what the plot of the world was. So what does the skeleton do for humanity that is so important then? That if you're so concerned about wasting human lives, why are you sending him after a skeleton? What is the skeleton gonna do? And then they say the data from the other ship. Okay, cool. That's fine. Data, information, sure. What's on the data? Vague data shit. Like vague data. I know that a lot of people, like it's like lore stuff, and I just am not a huge fan of that. I'm not a huge fan of it being like, oh yeah, no, it's vague on purpose. No, it doesn't have to be vague on purpose. I've seen movies that do vague on purpose much better than this did, because again, when you're toying with the life of your main character, it feels like the movie's just slapping you in the face, the audience, not even the actual character in the movie, the audience, because in a way the main character too, because he doesn't know what's important about the skeleton, what's important about the data. We never get to know. We never even get to know if they even reached the data, which I understand that the end of the movie is kind of indicative of this is going to happen again, because Simon's ship crashed, I'm sure, is dead, but the data's still there and safe, so I'm sure they're going to send the next crew down. But why? Like, why even do that? Why? What's in the data that's so precious, so dang important? What's in the skeletons that's so precious and important that you have to waste human lives? Like, there was no world building, I guess, is the right word for it, where, yeah, okay, you got this situation where you got this character that's doing this research for the rest of humanity. That's great, but what does it do? Like, give me some context, because or else I'm not gonna care, which is the whole reason why I brought up how the character just seemed like they gave in to, humanity, saving humanity, even though humanity gave him no fucking reason to save them. Why save them? Why give a shit? Like, they sent you down there. The whole movie is around the fact that they sent this person down there and the horror of that concept, and yet they give me no reason to actually want to save humanity. Like, why save humanity? Let's just let them die. If they're gonna let you die, let them die. How about you come down here and get your own fucking data, and I'll meet you down here so I can be saved. I told you about it. I know where it's at, but I'm not gonna travel all the way back into a fucking tunnel where there's a demon beast that talks to me through the radio and wants me to go near its light. By the way, I didn't write this down in my pros, but this is the monster was awesome. The monster was fucking awesome. I will say that. Just in the middle of my cons here, but the monster was great. The anglerfish design almost, where it's like, go near my light, which is what an anglerfish does. They have the little light bulbs on their head, which is how they gather prey. The prey comes in to see the light and then it swallows them up. So I loved that as a concept design for a monster design, a creature at the, it kind of looks almost like an anglerfish too, don't get me wrong, but it's also like the concept of an anglerfish is really scary because it's like it's luring you in. It's like a siren. So that was fucking rocked. But so that was just, I have so many praises for this movie, but I do also have some criticisms, and that was one of them, where I feel like it just, so much of the plot went nowhere for me. I got out of the movie theater and literally my first question was, that was it? Because at the very least, at the end of the movie, they could have had a thing where maybe they got the data and it showed humanity thriving, or that's cheesy, but at least it gives you an ending that's like his sacrifice was worth something, or the data was important. We don't even know what the data was. Again, it's just vague data that they say that they need. Again, the skeleton is just vague skeleton that they need for some reason, It's just bizarre to me. And the last thing I have to say on cons is that the ending could have been better, which I'm starting to segue into that almost, but I feel like the ending could have been better. I again had that idea of like, that's it. When it came to the ending, it's just Simon's dead, basically. I mean, there's no way he's alive, and the data just kind of floats to the top of the ship and is just kind of waiting there. And I feel like it could have been done better. You could have hammered home that vicious cycle part better. You could have gone back up into the... My thought was you could have gone back up into the main mothership or wherever they're at, and you could have been seeing another person getting ready to go down there, right? And the captain lady telling them, all right, so you're going to be the first person going down there. Like, just like Markiplier was told at the beginning of the movie. We could have that being, insinuating, yes, the cycle is going to continue. This is an endless cycle of hopelessness, violence, and death. Because I understand that is the theme of the film, so it's supposed to be that way, but I want more. I want more, I want more, tell me more. And I will be buying this for my DVD collection and actually watching it again and trying to catch some more things, because I'm sure there was cool secrets and everything in it that maybe tell more lore. But I honestly, in my first viewing of it, I didn't see anything indicative of lore that to me felt good, because so much of it was vague. The quiet rapture, okay, but what happened? Why is all humanity dead and starving and thriving and all this stuff? Was there a specific reason? Did the sun go out? Did the sun die? Was there a massive asteroid storm? Did the entire galaxy get thrown off or something, and that's why all the planets are dying and everything, all the stars are dying? Like, lore, actual lore of the story. I wanted more than just what we got. And again, this is a 2-hour movie. 2 hours. And you couldn't give me a little bit of something. We get even a little bit of vague memories from Simon as a kid and something that happened with some tree, and he was convicted of some crime. Also, the crime aspect of it, him being a criminal, very much confused me. So they almost imply in the movie that he's kind of innocent in a way. He didn't participate in the blowing up of some spaceship, some space station, and that's the reason why he's a convict, is because supposedly he blew up a space station that was very important or something. And he kind of implies that other people did it and he was just there. He didn't actually participate, and the people that were there, they got off and he was like a patsy, right? And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I like that, trying to see where this goes. Again, it kind of points to the hypocrisy of the world building, right? In this world, it's like, oh yeah, no, we'd hate to lose you because you're life, and all life is precious and everything. We can't afford to lose lives, but we are going to throw you down there. And also the people that actually did your crime, they got away scot-free and you're down here now. Like, that could have been something to explore, but no. We don't get any of that. We only get vague memories. And then, out of nowhere, we get this plot point where apparently Simon was nicknamed Simon the Butcher. So, like, is he a criminal or not? Because, like, as far as I'm concerned, this man is a serial killer. Which is way more crazy of an accusation than just blowing up a vague space station. Again, everything is vague. We don't know what the space station was. Was this the space station with the last tree on it? Was that when he was a kid? How long has he been a convict then, is my question. Like, so much stuff, and then for them to throw a curveball at the audience and be like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy's his whole thing was talking about how he was somewhat innocent or wrongfully accused, and yet they go into this info dump where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, his nickname was Simon the Butcher. Like, um uh so so even if he was not guilty of blowing up the space station, this man was still called Simon the Butcher, dude? Like, was he a serial killer? Did he kill people? Like, did he kill and eat people? I don't know. I just felt like I was like confused. I was like, where did this come from? All of a sudden, he's Simon the Butcher, and when the creature, the monster, the main monster, finally does bite into his ship, which is awesome. It's fucking awesome. Like I can't harp on this movie without remembering it and being like, oh, that was fucking awesome. But the creature bites onto the ship, right? And her teeth are through the ship, you know. And because the teeth are through the ship, he's like, well, I'll fucking take a couple of those out. And he says out loud, so you want Simon the Butcher? And then he just starts wailing on these teeth and breaking these teeth off. He's like, I'll give you Simon the Butcher. So he acknowledges that, yes, that was a nickname of his. And yes, he is Simon the Butcher. So my question is, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck? Like, we're talking about this whole space station shit and how important that space station was, and that's why he's here, and yet there's also another crime. Like, was that a gang name? Or was that actually something he got from killing people? Because then that kind of switches the gears in terms of like, oh yeah, this guy's good or bad, like it was just weird. Like, stick to a theme, for me. Like, as far as I know, this movie's not getting a sequel. I hope it doesn't fucking get a sequel because it doesn't need one. But like, I just there was so much that I was like, really, we couldn't get more on this part where there's this seemingly important stuff, and yet there's no explanation to it. Even the Simon the Butcher thing it isn't like they have an actual conversation about it. He's getting like the voices in his head of the creature talking to him and trying to, basically drive him crazy in a way, is talking about all these people that used to call him that. And it's like, was that the people that got away? The people that made him a patsy, they called him that just to try and make it seem like he's a worse person than he is? And if so, why does he take on that mantra when he attacks the monster? He's like, you want Simon the Butcher? So it's like, so you do accept that nickname in that way? Like, that doesn't need, like, you don't need to accept that nickname if you didn't do the crime. You shouldn't accept that nickname. Like, there was so much stuff with that I found that was kind of confusing too, where I was just like, what? Otherwise, I think that was kind of it. That was kind of all my criticisms, really. Otherwise, this is a great flick. It was really good. It was really scary too. It had a very the horror in it was definitely more ambiance than anything else. But there were some parts where it's just like, whoa, no. So it was good. And honestly, it deserves all the praise that it gets because, again, the low budget, I would consider $3 million a low budget now. Because the amount of fucking millions of dollars Hollywood spends on movies is insane. So as far as I'm concerned, $3 million is a low budget film. So for a low budget film made by a YouTuber, based off of a video game, which video game movies are notoriously bad, so this is one of the good ones. And it just, the spirit, the budget, the filmography, The passion that clearly went into this film was great. To me, I just had those little parts where those little story parts where I just didn't understand and that weren't made clear. And I understand that vague can be good in some certain instances, but not continuously throughout the film. I mean, everything is vague in this movie. His criminal record is vague. The monster is vague. The other ship is vague. The captain is vague. The missions are vague. The skeleton and the data, vague things that humanity needs. The quiet rapture itself is vague. There's no explanation as to why that happened. Like, you can tell me that, oh, it just happened one day. Like all the planets died or all the stars died or whatever the actual lore of the story is, but at least kind of you want to accentuate that a little bit. You want to, engage a little bit. And apparently the answer is no, because we don't ever really get anything. You don't need to have anything that takes part on the space station or anything of humanity. I don't need to see giant bouts of world building. I just need to see some explanations for a couple of things, and not make everything so vague to the point where you're asking yourself, what the fuck just happened? Like, it takes me out of the film whenever I have a question and then that question is never answered, and it is a way that's not even vague. Like, a good example of this is in the movie Inception. At the end of that movie, like, the guy's little like ritual thing, his little thing that tells him whether he's in the real world or not, is a spinning top. And at the end of the movie, he's finally out into the real world and happy and everything like that. And then the camera slowly pans to a spinning top, and then that ends the movie. So you're left wondering, oh shit, he's maybe not actually in the real world, but maybe he is. But you don't know. You don't really know. The spinning top would insinuate that he's not in the real world, but everything else says he is. And maybe that's just a top spinning for no reason. It could be, it's vague, but it also gives you enough of a bite to be like, you can kind of theorize that, like, maybe it is. Shutter Island is another good one where there's a lot of things in there that are kind of vague almost, and then you realize it's from the mind of a guy who may or may not be in a psych ward. That whole movie is still, kind of vague to the point of, we want to think that it's all the things point to him being an inmate there, a patient there, but there are some other things that point that maybe he's not a patient there. Maybe they're just fucking brainwashing the guy. Like, it can work. You can do this. It can work. You can leave questions unanswered in a movie and still make it good. But I feel like Iron Lung didn't really do that for me in this. There was too many questions. It was too vague. And they kept tacking things onto it, like the Simon the Butcher thing. It's like we were already trying to process the fact that he blew up a space station or whatever it was. And then now you're tacking on that nickname. That's crazy. And then the skeleton thing. It's like we're already trying to understand why would they need a skeleton, and then you slap us with, oh, there's actually, this data is the really important part. Forget the skeleton. The data is what we actually need to survive. And it's like, I thought you needed the skeleton. Why would it was just vague, and there was a couple things. There was too many questions and not enough answers, and it wasn't done in a way that I felt like it was good vagueness, I guess. But otherwise, it was a good film. I recommend you see it. I just recommend you do, because it is really good. It's like, again, the graphics are just out of control. The blood is just really good. If you've seen the video game, you know that it progressively gets worse in the ship, and that's very much the same way for this movie. Throughout the whole movie, it's getting worse. The blood's coming from more places. You get to see it actually slowly deteriorating, and it gives you the feeling that everything's closing in on you and the audience and Simon, which is just nicely done claustrophobia horror. So it's just, oh, it's good. It's a really good film. It's a really good film. I'll say that. I'm completely content with saying that. I have my gripes with it, but honestly, like I said, if it wasn't a good film, just a standard good film, good times, I wouldn't be buying it on DVD. I honestly wouldn't. Um, so I do recommend it. I do recommend it. It's really good. And if anything, just to support Markiplier, because the dude did a cool thing, right? Dude did a passion project that ended up being successful and great, and honestly just a good piece of cinema that is good. You know, a movie does not have to be perfect to be good, right? That's why perfect and good are different definitions. So I think that this movie was really well done, and I appreciate it if you supported him in that way of getting it on DVD if you missed it in the theaters, because it's a good flick and you should just see it. It's good. What's that called? I came out of it feeling like I watched something that Lovecraft would have made. It's cosmic horror, I guess is the word, right? Where it's just the horror, the fear of the unknown kind of fear, and like again, Lovecraft, dude. Totally Lovecraft. It felt very Lovecraftian. And I love Lovecraft's work. I have the leather-bound edition, the Easton Press leather-bound edition of all of his works, in one big thick stacked book. So I love his work. And I love cosmic horror is not my favorite type of horror, but I do love cosmic horror because you can do so many things with it. Like Color Out of Space, the book and the movie are actually pretty good. You know, the Color Out of Space movie is also actually damn good, you know. So anyways, that's about all I had to say. Just go watch it. It's good time. It's good time. Makes you think about things, which is good. You know, a lot of movies don't make you think about things anymore. The last movie I watched, which was Primate, didn't make me think anything. It was just a scary, fun, you know, are they gonna die or are they not gonna die kind of thing. And I already made a review on that, so I won't get into it. But this movie does make you think a little bit, so that's good. I like that. And yeah, I would just go watch it, but doesn't mean it's not without its flaws. Again, I'm trying to be unbiased here. There were some flaws with it that I did catch, and that's okay. That's okay. That's more than okay for a guy's first budget like ever movie. It was good. It was good. And again, it was just a blast to see it in the theaters. It was just great, an amazing film. Congratulations, Markiplier, you did it. I'm so proud. In terms of just, I understand how that feels. I understand that pride of like taking long to complete something, to do something that you've wanted to do for a while, and finally doing it, finally getting it out there, and finally seeing people's reaction to it, and seeing what works and doesn't work, and seeing people's faces light up when they you know, take your content in and actually enjoy it. So that's been me, The Dragon's Tongue. My book, of course, my other channels, I'll link those in the again, I made a couple other channels. This is just my bullshitting, I'm talking about shit channel. So but I'll link my other channels. It's gaming videos, gaming clips. I only do shorts mostly, but gaming shorts, and then gaming shorts. Gaming shorts, which is The Dragon's Thumb, and then I do horror stories. I'm trying to get that channel going, which is Goose Flesh Incorporated. So I'll link those down there, and I will make sure to link my book if I can. This has been The Dragon's Tongue. I approve of this message. No, I approve of this message, and I prove that Iron Lung is a good movie. You know, I don't care what critics say, it is a good movie. It has its flaws. It's not perfect, but that doesn't mean it's bad. This has been The Dragon's Tongue. So, peace, and I'll see you next time.